First, the murder trial of Perth barrister Lloyd Rayney has been told his wife died of head injuries after a serious assault. Prosecutors allege Mr Rayney killed his wife at the family home as their youngest daughter slept, then drove her body to Kings Park and buried her head first in a bush grave. Jamie Freestone was in court.
It's a walk into court Lloyd Rayney has done countless times before as a senior state prosecutor and as a criminal defence lawyer. But today it was different. With his daughters Caitlin and Sarah by his side, the 50-year-old made his way in to be tried for the willful murder of his wife. Corryn Rayney's body was found buried in Kings Park almost 5 years ago, 9 days after the Supreme Court registrar was reported missing. Today, prosecutor John Aegis alleged Lloyd Rayney murdered his wife in their Como home while their younger daughter slept. He said the accused hid her body and moved her car, waiting for his eldest daughter to return home and fall asleep before driving Mrs Rayney's body to Kings Park in the early hours of the morning. Mr Aegis alleged Mr Rayney dragged his wife from the car into a clearing and buried her, head down, in a 4-foot grave, her arms crossed over her chest. Reversing the car away, he allegedly damaged the transmission, leaving a trail of fluid to where the vehicle was eventually found in Subiaco. The court heard Mrs Rayney's children were concerned the next morning when they couldn't find their mother. They asked their father to call police, but he refused. Mr Rayney later left a message on his wife's office phone and sent her an email inquiring about her whereabouts. The court heard Mrs Rayney had suffered a significant head injury and brain damage before she died. Soil and paint particles found on her matched those from the front yard of her home. A handkerchief was found under Mrs Rayney's head. Prosecutors say her husband's DNA could not be excluded from it. 5 days before her body was discovered, a member of the public found a card with Mr Rayney's name on it near the gravesite. The prosecutor told the court there was absolutely no trust left between Lloyd Rayney and his wife when they arranged to meet at their home the night she was allegedly murdered. She returned from a boot scooting class and they were to discuss his financial records, with Mrs Rayney concerned he was hiding income from her. The accused had allegedly tapped the home phone and Mrs Rayney had been recorded talking to a friend threatening to harm her husband's career if he didn't provide her with his financial records. The 44-year-old said she would subpoena his clients for information about his legal fees. The court was told it was unlikely there was anyone other than Mr Rayney who had a motive to kill his wife.
10 reporter Jamie Freestone joins us now from court. And Jamie, there's been unprecedented community interest in this case.
It certainly has been, Craig, and it's because of the publicity that this is a trial by judge alone. About 100 people queued to get into the courtroom this morning, among them prominent defence lawyers Tom Percy, Belinda Lonsdale and Patty Chong. On one side of the public gallery, Lloyd Rayney's daughters sat with his sister. On the other side, Corryn Rayney's family sat separately. They're all likely to be witnesses in the trial, and it's because of that that they were eventually asked to leave the courtroom. The prosecutor will continue his opening address tomorrow. Mr Rayney's defence lawyer has told the court he's not going to make an opening address. On Wednesday, the court will not sit as usual. In the morning, the judge, the lawyers and Mr Rayney will travel and visit some sites related to this alleged crime. That will include the boot scooting hall where Mrs Rayney was last seen alive, the Rayney family home and the burial site in Kings Park. It's unlikely that we'll hear any evidence in this case until early next week. Craig?
Thanks, Jamie. Jamie Freestone live at court.